All right, folks, here are the honorable mentions in no particular order. If I was doing a top 15 of 2022, these would be 15 through 11. Let's start with Azul Master Chocolatier. Believe it or not, I had never played Azul before. I just wasn't a huge abstract fan. I do have some abstract games I absolutely love. When the mechanisms just seem to click, that is when I love an abstract at its best. But Azul with the mosaic tiles, it was a gorgeous game. But the chocolates, I mean, you gotta love these chocolate pieces. These are absolutely gorgeous. Assembling your mix of different chocolates. Same Azul rules. For anyone who doesn't know, you're going to be taking all of one color from one of these plates. Everything else goes in the center. You're going to place them all in a single row, and if you complete that row, you're going to slide over the rightmost spot into its matching spot, and the rest go away. And what you're trying to do is at the end of the game, every row you complete is 2 points. If you somehow manage to get all 10 of a color, it's 10 points per color you were able to do that for, and every column you complete is 7 points. So you're also getting in mid-game round points as well. So, for example, another fantastic move I may consider is taking these 3 blues, because then when I put these 3 blues in the 3 row, that is now a complete row, and I'll slide that over, I'll get 1, 2, 3 points right there in the middle of the round. That's one of the one things is if this was a dual layered board, oh my gosh, I would absolutely love it. Especially with this score track. This score track not being dual layered, yikes, this score cube just is bouncing all over the place. But looking at these beautiful tiles is just, I mean, it just does it for me. So that is why Azul Master Chocolatier. So again, a lot of people, when Azul first came out, people would be putting Azul, I think it won like Game of the Year when it first came out. But this is my first foray into Azul. I'm so glad I did with the Master Chocolatier version. All right, let's go over here next to First Empires. From building an assortment of chocolates to trying to conquer the world, though not really. In this game, it's not like Risk, where you are trying to conquer the entire globe. In this case, you are trying to complete objectives and get victory points, and that is going to mean your guys are going to get lost, and you may not even end up owning much of the world by the end of the game. The components in this one are also fantastic. I don't know if you'll be able to tell just how tiny these little meeples are, but they are adorable in all 5 player colors. This plays up to 5, which is fantastic. And the score tracks are dual layered, which is also awesome. I love going up these different tracks because this is how you're going to evolve across the course of the game. So what you're going to do is you're going to roll these dice, and the amount of dice you roll is equal to how high up you're on this track. And what you're going to want to do is for every territory that you have someone in that matches one of your dice, you're going to move up that corresponding track. It's as simple as that. You are going to move your people around to different spots. So for example, I have 3 movement here, so I could move 1, 2, and I'll just maybe leave that person there, because now look, at the end of my turn, I have 1. I'm going to move up 1 on the orange track, 1 on the yellow track. What do all the different tracks do? Well, this track lets you re-roll dice. So maybe I didn't need this extra 1, so I have a 1 re-roll there. And maybe now I can try to get on the green track. Again, purple's movement. Green are these cards, these bonus cards that you can cash in at any time. However, you can save them to score them as well. And you'll have a hand of cards. If you don't think you're going to be able to do something, you can always get rid of a card to just get something on the die. When you're battling other players, you're going to want to roll these swords, because every person you have in a territory plus every sword you have in a territory, you want to exceed the defender, how many defenders they have there, and then you'll be able to conquer that territory. But again, it's not permanently yours necessarily. You are going to want to try to get territories with opponents' city tokens in them, because you never know, but at the end of the game, you'll flip them over and see how many victory points they're worth. And for every city that you still have on the board, you'll be able to get those victory points as well. And lastly, the yellow track is how many people you have on the board. So orange, and actually this is the wrong player board for the orange player, but if they were at that spot, they would actually have 3 people out there to do things with. But I love it. I love the components. I love the artwork in the game. I love moving up these different tracks. It's a very quick, light civilization game. So that is First Empires. Next, the Guild of Merchant Explorers. This was a hot one for sure. This made a lot of people's lists, and for good reason. It's like a roll and write, but with physical components. I'm not a roll and write fan, so this was right up my alley. People, aren't the biggest fan necessarily maybe of the graphic design, at least some people that I've watched reviews on. Personally, I love it. Of course, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I love a good beige Euro, so the color scheme here actually looks not too bad to me. But these components are absolutely tiny. Look how small they are next to my hand. These are discovery towers, these are villages or cities, and so you can see for every one of these that you have at the end of each area, you're going to be scoring those points. Here are points going to be scored for those discovery towers. You are going to be flipping. The way the turns work, in the beginning, you are going to be flipping over just the basic little deck of cards, and then you'll be able to put your exploration cubes, your explorers, on the next space that is connected to either a village you already have out there or an exploration cube. So in this case, if we just flipped over that is explore 1 additional mountain space. So we could potentially go here, for example, and cover up that coin and get a coin, because those are going to be victory points. And at the beginning, you're just going to have like explore 1 mountain, explore 2 desert, explore 2 forest, and they don't have to be connected, unlike these 2. Explore 2 of anything but that are adjacent, explore 3 waterways that are adjacent. And so it's not a whole lot. You're like, well, how am I going to explore this whole map? That's where these come out, these era cards. So era 1, you're going to get an ability that you're going to be able to use whenever for the rest of the game that era 1 card is flipped over. So for example, this one says explore up to 3 mountain spaces, double the value of any coins you earn from them. So before, we were only able to ever explore 1 mountain, potentially 2 additional, but now I can really explore the mountains. And you're going to get a new ability for era 2 and era 3. And then throughout the course of 4 rounds, you're going to be flipping all these cards over and being able to use these abilities again and again. There are certain spaces on here like shipwrecks and ruins where you're going to be able to draw treasure cards. There's some little set collection here for the end of the game. Here is get points for coins for your discovery towers, get points for any 2 villages you have. And yeah, I like the components, I do like the graphic design, but the gameplay itself is a lot of fun, and that is the Guild of Merchant Explorers. Let's move over to Dog Park. I did not back this Kickstarter, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, well, hopefully I'll be able to grab a copy, because my family are huge dog fans. I know a lot of people are going to be into this game just based on being dog people. I have no pets myself, but a lot of my family love dogs, and the weight of this game, kind of maybe Gateway Plus, I would say, with these components, with this artwork, all about dogs, it was the perfect game for my family, so I knew I had to pick up a copy. These components are fantastic. The resources in this game are things like toys, tennis balls, sticks, and treats, of course. And just look at this artwork. You have several different kinds of dogs. Every game, you're going to be having a different breed category order of how many points those dogs are going to be worth at the end of the game. Whoever has the most is the breed expert of that breed and gets that many points. So there's utility dogs and terriers and hounds and so many others, but it's almost like the wingspan of dog games, because all the dogs are different, all the dogs have different artwork, all the dogs require a different combination of resources in order to take them on walks. One of the most unique things, though, is how you acquire these dogs. And I'm actually not a huge bidding auction mechanic fan, but this is a very simple, streamlined auction mechanic. So you'll have dogs out here based on the number of players, and what you're bidding with these leash dials is actually your victory points. So if there's a dog you really want and you think someone else may be going after it, you may want to put a few victory points on the line there. You're always going to end up with a dog, but maybe not the dog you necessarily wanted to. And then the meat and potatoes of the game is actually moving your dog walker on these paths, and that's how you collect additional resources. But you don't want to drag out a walk, because the first person to leave the park is going to get points. The last person is going to get negative points. And that's over the course of 4 rounds. And there's a whole bunch of other things. You're going to seed the park with additional resources. There's going to be round cards that come out that detail additional things that are going to happen during the course of a round. But after the 4 rounds are over, who has the most points wins. But I think everyone wins, right, when you are playing this gorgeous game about dogs, and that is Dog Park. All right, next, Planted. Planted would have easily been in my top 10 most played games. It may be my most played 2022 game this year. It is such a value for money. When it first came out, I ran to go get it because of that name right there. Phil Walker Harding, everyone knows him. They got a favorite game of his, Barron Park. Mine is Gizmos. Gizmos is one of my top 10 favorite games of all time. But Sushi Go Party is a lot of fun too, and there's a drafting mechanism in this game. I mean, that is the most of what you're going to be doing in Planted is drafting cards. You're going to have a hand of cards. You're going to play one face down. Everyone does this simultaneously. You all reveal, and you all get whatever's on your card. So this is a deck of resource cards here. Resources are things like plant food, sunlight. Let's see, we have a water one in here as well. You get as many of the resource as the icons shown on the cards. However, these cards are dual use, because if you don't want what's on the card, or if more importantly, you want a new plant, that's how you get them. So you won't get what's on the card. You'll keep it face down. You'll still flip it over, but you'll yell nursery. And if anyone else did that, whoever has the lowered number card is going to be able to get their choice of plants first, but the plants do immediately get refilled. But hopefully no one took yours, so you may want to make sure to get rid of a card of a low value in order to get that first pick. But then that's how you get additional plants, but plants that you have, and you can have up to 6 of them on your player board here. After everyone has played their card, and we keep going around and around until all the cards have been played or used, then it's time to try to feed your plant. So for example, here I have a spider plant, and it requires 2 sunlight and a water to feed. Well, look at what I have here. I have 2 sunlight and a water, which means this plant is fed, and for feeding that plant, I get to cover up the lowest, most available spot on this victory point track. At the end of the game, you'll remove all those leaf tokens, and for every point value that you covered up with a leaf, that is how many points. So if you fed this plant 3 times, this is a 9-point plant by the end of the game. So first of all, look at these components. At Target, when I first got this, it was $19.99. $19.99 for beautiful printed wooden tokens, for these gorgeous plastic components, for these actual, like, real nice worn bags, all of the cards, all of the player boards, everything. $19.99, are you kidding me? Now it has gone up, I believe, now to $29.99, but still an absolute value. If you like drafting, if you like collecting resources, resource management, spending those resources, and if you like the plant theme, I mean, look at all the gorgeous plant artwork. This beats Verdant out by miles for me. Oh my gosh, there's no comparison. Planted is way ahead of Verdant for me. Next, just another little thing that's added to what we've seen so far is this other deck of cards. This is the item cards. So this is going to be 2 different things, decorations or tools. Decorations are going to be endgame scoring bonuses. So gain a point for each fully grown plant, which means all those spaces are covered, that you own. Or ceramic planter, gain a point for each shelf plant you own. Every plant has a type. It's either hanging, shelf, or floor. So, end game points for that. But then there's also these tools, which are going to be different ways you can get additional resources, like gain a green thumb token, which we haven't seen that. 2 green thumb tokens is a wild for any resource. Gain 1 green thumb for each single water card you play. Or gain a food token for each double food card you played. That'd be a fantastic card to get if you have plants that need a lot of plant food. But the components, the artwork, the streamlined gameplay, like I said, this is probably my most played 2022 game of the year. And it is another top, if I was doing a top 15, these would be the 5 that would make that list. So these are my 5 honorable mentions, and let's move on to the rest of the list.